Pakistan's general election slated for February 8 will see 266 seats filled in the centre, which is the lower house of parliament or the National Assembly. Although only a handful of political parties are household names, there are over 175 registered with the Election Commission of Pakistan. But today, we'll be talking about the political heavyweights.
Well, there are three major parties in Pakistan which matter if you are paying attention to the upcoming election. There is Imran Khan's Tehreek-e-Insaf, Nawaz Sharif's Pakistan Muslim League, and Asif Ali Zardari's Pakistan People's Party. Let's start with the PPP. It is one of the oldest parties. It presents itself as the party of the downtrodden. It calls itself the party of martyrs because of its long history of violence against its leaders and workers. The PPP was formed by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto in 1967 with left-leaning socialist minds in the country against the military dictator General Ayub Khan. After the breakup of Pakistan in 1971, Bhutto became the president and the prime minister. Under him, the economy was nationalized and land reforms were introduced. Pakistan got a constitution in 1973. The country embarked on a covert nuclear weapons program as a deterrent against India. Bhutto was overthrown in a military coup and hanged by General Zia. His party was targeted for a state crackdown. Hundreds of his party workers were jailed and tortured. Some were even hanged for alleged involvement in anti-state activities. The leadership of the party was passed on from Bhutto's wife, Nusrat Bhutto, to their daughter, Benazir Bhutto. Ms. Bhutto led the movement for restoration of democracy, the MRD. She was repeatedly jailed under the martial law regime before going into self-exile to Britain in 1984. In April 1986, Benazir Bhutto returned to Pakistan to a resounding reception in Lahore. After General Zia's death in a mysterious plane crash in 1988, elections were held. Despite the military efforts to keep her out of the election, Benazir Bhutto was elected the first prime minister of a Muslim nation. But her government was short-lived. Palace intrigues and inexperience in having to share power with the powerful military took its toll. Her government was accused of corruption and dismissed unceremoniously. The subsequent elections in 1990 were widely seen to have been rigged to bring her opponent Mian Nawaz Sharif to power. The PPP's parliamentary strength was drastically reduced. Benazir Bhutto became the leader of the opposition. In 1993, Nawaz Sharif's government was dismissed and Benazir Bhutto returned to power as the prime minister. The second tenure was marked by pragmatism and a bigger preference for not trying to annoy the powerful army. Benazir's husband, Asif Ali Zardari, sought a bigger role in political and financial decisions. Allegations of corruption became even more widespread. In September 1997, Benazir's brother Murtaza was murdered in a police shootout in Karachi. Her government stood severely vulnerable and undermined. Within weeks, Benazir Bhutto's second government was dismissed and her husband put in jail. Benazir later went into exile the second time. Corruption investigations followed in Pakistan, London, and Switzerland. Benazir's second homecoming was in October 2007 under a deal with General Musharraf brokered by friendly foreign governments. She was on course to returning to power that year when she was assassinated at her last election rally in the city of Rawalpindi. Her widower, Asif Ali Zardari, took reins of the party. The wave of sympathy for the PPP brought the party to power, and Mr. Zardari became the president until 2013. The PPP has been in power in Sindh for the last 15 years. During this time, the party has evolved from being a party of the downtrodden to a party of rich industrialists, agriculturalists, and businessmen. In Sindh, the party clings on to an emotional legacy to cling on to popular appeal. But in terms of delivery, it seems to have done little to shake a deeply entrenched public perception for incompetence within its ranks, poor governance, and corruption. Its chairman, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, is seen as the young, progressive face of the party who's interested in a new kind of politics. But so long as his experienced father, Asif Ali Zardari, calls the shots, it may be a while before the new generation can reform or transform the party as the party of the future. The leader of Pakistan Muslim League N is the most experienced political leader who has seen highs and lows of the civil-military imbalance in Pakistan. Over the last 45 years or so, Nawaz Sharif has been a 2-time chief minister, a 3-time prime minister. He has been put in jail and he has faced corruption cases. Nawaz Sharif started his political career as a protege of the military dictator General Zia. Decades later, he emerged as the biggest critic of the army's interference in politics. Nawaz Sharif came to politics from a conservative business family with good ties to generals close to General Zia. In 1981, he was appointed Finance Minister of Punjab Province. He was elected as the Chief Minister of Punjab in 1985. Nawaz Sharif was part of Muslim League headed by the Prime Minister Mohammad Khan Junejo. In 1988, when General Zia dismissed Junejo's government, Nawaz Sharif switched sides and sided with the dictator. He was encouraged to launch his own faction of the party, which became known as PML Nawaz. Junejo was now out of favor, but Nawaz Sharif returned as the Punjab Chief Minister in 1988. With the backing of the army, he was cultivated as a national leader to undermine Benazir Bhutto's government. To counter the PPP's left-leaning liberal outlook, Nawaz championed General Zia's legacy of conservative Islam, strong role for the military, and economic reform. He was brought to power as the Prime Minister in 1990 as a candidate of Anti-People's Party right-wing electoral alliance called Islami Jamhuri Ittihad. With the army behind him, Nawaz embarked on popular economic initiatives like motorways, yellow cab schemes, and so on. He built a reputation as a doer, someone who had the capacity to deliver. But differences soon got out of control between him and the president. In 1993, his government was thrown out. Nawaz Sharif then returned to power the second time in 1997, this time with a 2/3 majority. He was seen to use this heavy mandate to concentrate more and more power in his hands, to emerge as a civilian dictator or an Amirul Momineen. During this time, Sharif sought to normalize ties with India. The Indian Prime Minister Vajpayee visited Lahore, but soon after, the Pakistani Army Chief, General Musharraf, launched the Kargil War, ostensibly without the knowledge of the Prime Minister. That came as a huge setback for Sharif's efforts to improve ties with India. It put Pakistan at odds with Washington too. Nawaz Sharif had to travel to the US to defuse the crisis and extricate Pakistan from a regional war. During this time, Nawaz is also credited with Pakistan's decision to respond to India's nuclear tests with tests of its own. The country was offered inducements not to follow suit in exchange for financial and diplomatic promises. But Nawaz Sharif opted for the tests, believing that Pakistan had no option but to restore the balance of power in the region with its own nuclear tests. Along the way, ties between the Prime Minister and his army chief nosedived. And on October the 12th, 1999, General Musharraf took over the country in a bloodless coup. Nawaz Sharif was put in jail and tried for hijacking a commercial airliner. Nawaz Sharif and his family were finally allowed to go into exile to Saudi Arabia under a deal that they will stay out of politics. His time in jail and then in exile may have forced Nawaz Sharif to rethink what really ails Pakistan. His deal to stay out of politics was honored until Nawaz Sharif and his brother made his way to London and signed an understanding with their opponent, Benazir Bhutto. It was called the Charter of Democracy, in which both of Pakistan's leading politicians agreed that the way forward was through democracy and they would not allow themselves to be used by the military against each other. In 2007, both Nawaz Sharif and Benazir Bhutto returned to Pakistan. After Benazir Bhutto's assassination in December 2007, Nawaz Sharif and Asif Ali Zardari carried the country's politics forward. In 2013, Nawaz Sharif was elected as the Prime Minister. His third stint in power was not without problems. There was constant friction between him and the military. Nawaz Sharif during this time launched what is called China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. He sought to build on his reputation as a developer of infrastructure projects to take the country out of energy shortages and so on. But by 2017, the differences before him and the army were so wide that he had to be removed through the judiciary. Nawaz Sharif's party was allowed to stay in government for one more year, and then in 2018, we saw the elections in which his party was kept out of power. His staunch opponent Imran Khan was brought into government, and Nawaz Sharif's party's parliamentary strength was drastically reduced. Nawaz Sharif and his family faced a number of cases. He was allowed to travel to Britain on medical grounds, which he converted into a self-exile. Nawaz Sharif then returned to Pakistan in 2023 to lead his party in the next election. The Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, or the PTI, is arguably the most popular party in Pakistan today, despite the fact that it is currently facing a state crackdown. Its founder, the former international cricket star, used his celebrity status as a philanthropist to set up a cancer hospital in his mother's name. He's known as a crowd puller, a formidable fundraiser, and a charismatic politician who has promised in Pakistani politics to fight corruption. His critics see him as a populist authoritarian, a misogynist who preaches politics of hate, and is known for polarization. His opponents believe that he has a tendency of offering simplistic solutions to complex structural problems facing Pakistan. But to Imran Khan's credit, he has galvanized urban youth, women, business community, people who don't ordinarily engage with traditional parties, have become more politicized in the last decade or so. Now, Imran Khan dabbled in politics. He struggled a lot for a decade or so, but could not galvanize enough support to become a national leader or to be taken seriously. He then positioned himself as an alternate to legacy parties, as someone who represents change, who wants to lead change. He spoke of a tsunami of popular support. He also sided with conservative Islamic sections of the population, idealizing the Islamic welfare state in the times of Prophet Muhammad, talking about creating Riyasat-e-Medina in Pakistan. At times, he appeared impressed by how China eliminates corruption amongst its officials. He appeared soft on Pakistani Taliban, openly supported the Afghan Taliban's return in Kabul, and at one point declared Osama bin Laden, the architect of 9/11 attacks, as a martyr. Imran Khan capitalized on the contempt for legacy parties, for their alleged corruption, but his critics labeled him U-turn Khan for the frequency and passion with which he switched positions. For example, he denounced the IMF as oppressive and a tool of imperialists, only to then go to the International Monetary Fund for a bailout package. In 2018, Imran Khan was widely seen to have been brought into power by the country's powerful establishment. This includes the country's powerful generals and the judges of the time. As Prime Minister, he is credited with how he handled the COVID crisis in the country and for introducing populist welfare reforms like universal health in 2 provinces of Pakistan. But his time in office was marked by political witch hunt of opponents and critics, be they journalists or politicians or officials. He's accused of using the intelligence agencies and the National Accountability Bureau to put his opponents in jail. Imran Khan was a big supporter of the Pakistani Army Chief General Bajwa and the intelligence chief General Faiz Hamid. But by 2021, differences between the army chief and Imran Khan became so irreconcilable that the army started pulling back its support of the government. Imran Khan was voted out of office through a no-confidence move in the parliament in April 2022. This put him at loggerheads with the army chief. He accused the United States of a conspiracy to topple his government and also criticized the army chief. General Bajwa was targeted for a vilification campaign in his rallies on social media. It was something never seen before. Meanwhile, despite all his government's failures, Imran Khan's popularity kept going up. He won by-elections, he staged huge rallies across the country, And he became so confident that he almost wanted to paralyze the system in order to come back to power. By May 2023, Imran Khan had avoided arrest in several cases. On May 9th, his supporters went out and attacked state institutions and installations. That violence tipped the tide against the PTI. Imran Khan was arrested, his supporters put in jail, his party fragmented. An official crackdown was in full swing. It's unclear at the moment whether his party will be allowed to contest the elections as a party, but despite the allegations and the crackdown, the PTI remains popular. And Imran Khan, despite being in jail, commands a lot of support. His supporters still believe that he's the best of the political leaders available in Pakistan. He meant well, he wasn't allowed to deliver, and he should return to power.
So, that wraps up the overview of the three major political parties in Pakistan competing in the upcoming general elections. If you want to stay updated on the latest election news and campaigns, make sure to subscribe to Dawn News English.